Okay, we're to step 5 on this project. On this step, we're going to be adding some longer samples outside of Machinist and some effects, and then mixing our project. So let's go ahead and get into it. I actually had a mixed blessing where I lost my entire session. Audio Tool crashed on me. It happens even to teachers. And so I had to start from scratch again, which was, frustrating, but also kind of a good thing because it allowed me to try some new ideas out. And I decided to go back to Freesound and get a piano sound because I just figured that'd be fun to mess around with. So just wanted to show you this real quick. I downloaded this sound, which is actually just someone playing a Bach excerpt. It sounds like this. Okay, so anyway, I chopped that up into a bunch of tiny pieces and uploaded that in. I just want to show them to you real quick. Let me zoom out here. Sorry, my screen's a little bit wonky. There we go. So if I go to my samples, I chopped them up into a bunch of these different tinier pieces. Just that little bit and that little bit. And those little bits. And then I even reversed a little section and uploaded that, which I thought was pretty cool. So I decided to kind of mix that in with my beats. I actually loaded an extra Machinist here just for the Bach samples. And you'll see that mixed together. And I kind of, really finished the project just as a test to make sure it's all going to work. And so I'm going to play you what I have, and then we'll break this all apart, take it down, and redo it so that you can see all these steps together. So here's what my project sounds like now. Before I push play, I just wanted to point out these are my effects. They're actually plugged right into the Machinist in this case. And then I've got my 3 longer samples here. You'll hear those at the beginning. There's a reverse clang and ominous frogs, and then I use that reverse Bach sample right here. So let's check this out. Okay, I'm going to let that play out. Actually, let me just play at the very end here. Kind of like how that ended. That reverse clang ended up being a real cool intro and outro. So you probably didn't hear that piano anywhere, right? You're like, wait a minute, what happened to all those cool Bach piano things that he chopped up? I've got it run through so many effects it doesn't even sound like piano anymore. So let's break this down and show you what I did here. So first of all, I'm going to let's go ahead and delete these sounds. These are my longer samples. And let's delete these effects. Okay. So really this is what it started as. We'll also kill that line as well. So if we listen to... Okay. So one of the first requirements for this step is to pull in those longer samples to use. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I had the, where are we? Ominous frogs, of course. And when you load a simple sample just right on the screen like that, it will automatically just plop it into the next channel, and it will plop the sound down here at the bottom. I ended up just wanting it at the very beginning of my piece, so I just, went ahead and tuck that back in, just that little bit of it. And then we have the reverse clang, so I'll bring that in. And that one I also synced up kind of to come to peak right before that beat starts. And then I also copied and pasted that and did it right at the end as as well, because I thought I made a good like final build. And the last thing I had was the Bach reverse. I'll pull that in. And that one I just kind of put on loop right here in this middle section, like that. So those are my 3 long samples, so that checks off that. And keep in mind that you can adjust the level playback on these individually there, and then also where they plug into the mixer. Let's get into the effects. Effects are fun to mess around with, and that can really change the overall feel of your sound. So first of all, the easiest way to use effects is just to put them right on these longer samples. I'm going to go back to my devices, and the effects are all these colorful things here. So again, some of my favorites, the top 3 that we talked about in the lesson on the intro to effects would be like reverb and EQ and compression. Those are good old classics, but they're not really strong effects. If you're going for something that like you want a lot of flavor on, phaser's a cool one, delay's a cool one, crusher's a really cool one. I'll use that one a little bit. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do some new ones because it's a new run. I'm going to do a phaser. And so you just pull it onto the screen there, and it will automatically plug itself into the next channel too, but it's not hooked up to anything yet, so it's not really going to be doing anything. So you got to choose which sound you want to plug into it. So I'm going to take this reverse Bach and run it into the phaser, and then I'm going to take the output of the phaser pedal and put it back where that reverse Bach was hooked up to begin with. And let's go ahead and zip ahead so we can listen to what this sounds like. In fact, I can even solo this channel. I'm going to come down here and click on the S button right there. That's for solo. Okay, I kind of like that. I'm going to change some of these parameters on this. So I'm going to, as it's playing, I'm going to change some of this so you can hear what it does. Yeah, so it kind of adds that little siren sound almost to it. Another cool thing that I did was really change the sound of these pianos altogether. Let me take that solo button off. How I did that was, first of all, let me cue us back to this place where we have pianos playing. So that part sounds very piano-y. So I'm going to take the crusher, first of all, and I'm going to put it right there. And again, I've got to plug my drum machine into the crusher, and then my crusher, I'm going to put it back into the channel that the drum machine is plugged into. The crusher does some really cool stuff. Let's play it and see what happens. Okay, so that drastically alters that piano sound. Next, I'm going to try a slope. Slope's kind of a cool filter that you can run through to filter out some of those kind of annoying bits of what the crusher puts in. And again, same thing. I hooked these up so they go into each other, and then I dropped that back to channel 2 there. So we'll play this again. I feel like take some of that high end out of it. So it sounds very computery now. Last thing I did was I put a delay on it, and I really like that because it really makes it spacey. So again, it'll automatically plug into the next open channel, which I kind of hate. It's annoying, but whatever. Plug the output into channel 2, and then hook these pedals all up. now that it's all affected, I'm going to turn it down in the mix a little bit right here. It's plugged into channel 2, so I'm just going to bring that down because I don't want it to be too overpowering. Okay, so that's a cool way to use effects, and I've already got 4 on the screen here, so I'm already more than I need, but I wanted to show you one more way to use effects. You can actually apply effects to just specific samples. If you look over here on this drum, it's got all these arrow outputs, and they're each tied to one of the samples, right? So if I just wanted to put an effect on the boom sound, let's say, to make it a little bit more bit crunched also, I'm going to try this one called Tube D, which stands for Tube Distortion. And I'm going to just take the output from the boom and plug it into the tube distortion. So I'm going to keep it plugged into this separate channel all the way down here. So the rest of my drum machine is going to come through this wire, but the boom sound is going to go through this tube distortion. So let's see what that does. That gives that nice fuzzy kind of sound to it, right? So I can change that up a little bit. Cool, right? So yeah, that's all you need to do to finish this step 5. Is you need to have at least 3 effects. You can just have one machinist. You don't need to have 2 machinists. I just decided to do that so I could have drums and these piano samples going at the same time. But you do need to have at least 3 longer samples that you're individually placing like I did here, and then 3 audio effects. And then do some mixing, and what I mean by mixing is adjusting some of the playback levels. You can adjust them here on the mixing board, or you can adjust them individually on the samples. You can also go in and adjust some of your panning for each of the sounds, and panning again is if it comes out of the middle or the left or the right, so you can adjust that. Just make it sound good, right? Make sure you're not getting any red lights. If you're getting any red lights over here on your levels, this last fader on the right is your master output, and that will help fix that usually, or turn down the individual ones that are spiking too much. That's it. So to turn this in, just make sure I'm invited as an editor, and then on Canvas, enter in your Audio Tool username. And I'm excited to see what you guys come up with.